My fiancée told her sister, "I'm just marrying him for security. The real love of my life is someone else." Right before our wedding rehearsal, I heard every word through the bathroom door. I didn't confront her, just smiled through dinner. The next morning, 200 wedding guests got a text. Wedding canceled due to bride's honesty. I'm 34 and just sent the most satisfying group text of my life. My wedding was supposed to be today, but instead, 200 people just learned exactly why there won't be a ceremony. Been with Claire for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. She's 31, works as a nurse, seemed like the perfect woman to build a life with. I'm a project manager at a tech company, make good money, own my house, stable life. Everything seemed normal leading up to the wedding. Claire was excited about the planning. Our families got along great. We'd talked through all the big life decisions. I thought we were ready to start our married life together. Last night was our wedding rehearsal dinner. Both families, wedding party, close friends. About 40 people total at a nice restaurant with a private dining room. During dinner, Claire stepped outside to take a call from work. Her sister Maya followed her out, saying she wanted some fresh air. I figured they'd be back in a few minutes. About 10 minutes later, I went outside to check on them. The restaurant has a covered patio area that's mostly empty in the evening. I could see Claire and Maya talking by the far corner, but they couldn't see me. I was about to walk over when I heard Claire's voice. She sounded upset, and I stopped to listen, thinking maybe there was a work emergency. What I heard made my world collapse. Maya was asking if Claire was having second thoughts about the wedding. It's not second thoughts exactly. I do care about David, but I'm not in love with him. What do you mean? You're marrying him tomorrow. I'm marrying him for security, Maya. He's stable, has a good job, will be a good provider, but the real love of my life is someone else. My blood went cold. The real love of her life is someone else. Claire, you can't marry David if you're in love with another man. I can, and I will. David will give me the life I want. The other guy is exciting, but he's not marriage material. David's safe. This is insane. What if David finds out? He won't. David thinks I'm head over heels for him. He has no idea I'm settling. What about the other guy? Does he know you're getting married? He knows. We said goodbye 2 weeks ago. I told him this is what I have to do for my future. So you're going to fake being in love with David for the rest of your life? I'm going to be a good wife. I'll make David happy. He'll never know the difference. I stood behind that pillar for another 5 minutes, listening to Claire explain how she'd compartmentalized her feelings and convinced herself that marrying me for security was the practical choice. Maya kept pushing back, saying it wasn't fair to me. Claire kept insisting that love wasn't everything and that stability mattered more than passion. When they started walking back inside, I quickly returned to the dining room through a side entrance. Claire came back looking completely normal, smiling, chatting with family, playing the happy bride-to-be perfectly. I sat through the rest of that dinner, watching Claire perform for everyone, laughing at jokes, talking about how excited she was for tomorrow, thanking people for coming to celebrate our love. Our loves. That apparently only existed on my side. After dinner, we went back to my house. Claire was staying in the guest room since we'd decided to do the traditional, not seeing each other before the wedding thing. She was chatty and excited, probably trying to convince herself everything was fine. I managed to act normal, but barely. Told her I loved her, said I couldn't wait to marry her tomorrow, played the excited groom everyone expected me to be, but I barely slept that night. I kept replaying her words over and over. The real love of my life is someone else. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't confront Claire and give her a chance to manipulate the situation. I couldn't go through with a wedding built on lies. And I couldn't let 200 people celebrate a marriage that was fraud on her part. Saturday morning at 6 a.m., I started going through our wedding planning binder. We had everyone's contact information organized for sending thank you cards later. I spent 2 hours creating contact groups on my phone. Immediate family, extended family, friends, coworkers, vendors. About 180 guests plus 20 vendors. At 8 a.m., I sent carefully crafted messages to different groups. To family and close friends. Wedding today is canceled. Last night I overheard Claire tell her sister that she's marrying me for security, not love, and that the real love of her life is someone else. I cannot marry someone under these circumstances. I'm sorry for the last-minute notice. To other guests, wedding today is canceled due to personal circumstances that came to light last night. Sincere apologies for the short notice. To vendors, wedding canceled due to changed circumstances. Please send final invoices to this number. Then I woke up Claire. Claire, I need to tell you something. Last night I overheard your conversation with Maya on the patio. Her face went white immediately. I heard you explain how you're marrying me for security while being in love with someone else, how you're planning to fake being in love with me for our entire marriage. David, I can explain. I've already canceled the wedding. I sent messages to all the guests this morning. She grabbed her phone and saw my text in the family group chat. Started reading with horror. You told my parents? My grandparents? Everyone? I told everyone who was planning to celebrate our fake love today. This will humiliate me in front of everyone I know. You were planning to humiliate me for the rest of our marriage by faking love while being in love with someone else. She started crying and begging me to send follow-up messages, saying it was a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Claire. You were completely honest with Maya about your motivations. I'm just being honest with everyone else. My phone started buzzing with responses. Shocked family members, confused friends, vendors confirming cancellations. Claire's phone was going crazy too. Her family calling, friends texting, people demanding explanations. Please say you misheard, or that you'll work it out with me. I heard you perfectly. You said the real love of your life is someone else and that you're marrying me for security. Those were your exact words. She spent the next 3 hours alternating between crying, making phone calls to family, and begging me to somehow fix the situation. Around noon, Claire packed her things and left to stay with her parents. She was still getting calls from people who'd received my messages. I'm sitting here now on what should have been my wedding day, but instead I'm free from marrying someone who was planning to fake loving me for the rest of our lives. Update 1. 1 week later. 1 week since I canceled the wedding, and the aftermath has been everything Claire deserved. Her plan to fake a loving marriage got exposed exactly when it needed to be. The immediate response to my messages was intense but manageable. My phone was busy Saturday morning, but not overwhelmed since I'd sent different versions to different groups. Family members called to check on me and expressed shock about Claire's deception. Friends offered support and asked if I needed anything. Most vendors were professional about the cancellation. Claire's family was devastated. Her mother called Saturday afternoon apologizing for her daughter's dishonesty. We had no idea Claire was planning this. We thought she loved you and was excited to marry you. So did I until I heard her real feelings. Maya told us she tried to talk Claire out of the wedding, but didn't know how to warn you without causing problems. Maya called me Sunday to apologize for not finding a way to tell me sooner. I knew what Claire was planning was wrong, but I didn't know how to handle it. I'm sorry you had to find out that way. You don't owe me an apology. Claire's the one who chose deception. She's angry with me for having that conversation outside where you could hear us. Like it's my fault she got caught. Claire spent the weekend dealing with family confrontations and embarrassed friends. Several people had traveled for the wedding and were demanding explanations for the last-minute cancellation. Her strategy was to claim I'd misunderstood her conversation with Maya and that she'd been expressing normal pre-wedding anxiety, not revealing she didn't love me. But Maya wasn't backing up that story. She'd heard what she'd heard and wasn't willing to lie about it. Monday, Claire called in sick to work. The story had spread through her hospital since several coworkers had been invited to the wedding. Tuesday, she tried reaching out through Maya to see if we could work through this misunderstanding. I told Maya there was no misunderstanding. Claire had been crystal clear about marrying me for security while loving someone else. She says she was just expressing fears and that she really does love you. Maya, you were there. You heard her explain how she was going to fake being in love with me for our entire marriage. She's desperate to fix this. The whole family is upset. The family should be upset. She was planning to commit fraud. Wednesday marked 5 days since the wedding that didn't happen. Claire's reputation had taken a serious hit in our social circle, and she was learning that deception has consequences. The canceled wedding became a cautionary tale about honesty in our mutual friend group. Several people mentioned they were glad I'd found out before signing a marriage certificate. Thursday, Claire's attempts to reframe her patio confession as wedding jitters weren't working because too many people knew the specific details of what she'd said. Friday, I heard through mutual friends that Claire was considering moving to a different city to start fresh, away from the embarrassment. The wedding cancellation was handled professionally by vendors. Most understood that personal emergencies happen and appreciated the early morning notice, instead of having to deal with it day of. Our families have been supportive. Both sides expressed relief that I discovered Claire's true feelings before the wedding rather than after. Final update, 3 weeks later. 3 weeks since the canceled wedding, and this story has reached its natural conclusion. Claire learned that honest conversations in semi-public places have consequences when the wrong person is listening. The social fallout was significant for Claire, but proportional to what she'd been planning. The story spread through our mutual circles and her workplace, but most people moved on after the initial shock. Claire's attempts to reframe her patio confession as pre-wedding nerves failed because Maya wouldn't support the revised narrative. Maya had heard what she'd heard and wasn't willing to lie about it. 2 weeks ago, Claire's mother called to thank me for preventing a marriage that would have been built on deception. Claire's finally admitted she wasn't ready to marry you for the right reasons. She's getting counseling to figure out what she actually wants in life. That's good. Everyone deserves to be in relationships based on genuine feelings. We're embarrassed about the whole situation, but grateful you found out before the wedding instead of years into a marriage. Claire apparently ended contact with her real love and is working on understanding why she was willing to marry someone she didn't love. 1 week ago, I started seeing someone new. She knows the whole story, and her reaction was perfect. Anyone who would plan to fake loving their spouse for an entire marriage has serious issues with honesty and commitment. This new relationship feels completely different. No questioning whether her affection is genuine, no wondering if she's with me for the right reasons. 3 days ago, Claire sent a final message apologizing for her deception and thanking me for stopping her from making a terrible mistake. I know what I was planning was wrong. You saved both of us from a marriage that would have been unfair to everyone involved. I didn't respond, but I appreciated the acknowledgement. The wedding cancellation wasn't revenge. It was transparency. 200 people were planning to celebrate love that only existed on one side. They deserved to know what they would actually be celebrating. Claire wanted the security of marriage without the inconvenience of actually loving her husband. She discovered that deception only works when it stays private. I wanted a marriage based on mutual love and honesty. When I learned that wasn't what Claire was offering, I chose truth over comfortable lies. The patio conversation revealed Claire's real motivations when she thought she was safe being honest with her sister. The group messages just shared that honesty with everyone else who was involved. Everyone got exactly what they chose. Claire chose to plan a marriage based on security rather than love, while keeping her real feelings secret. She got exposed for that choice and had to face the social consequences. I chose transparency over maintaining comfortable lies. I got clarity about what I was really getting into and avoided the biggest mistake of my life. Our wedding guests got honesty instead of being unknowing participants in celebrating a fraudulent marriage. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to let someone make a terrible mistake that will hurt everyone involved. Claire would have spent years faking love while I lived in ignorance about her real feelings. That's not fair to anyone. The canceled wedding gave everyone the information they needed to understand what was really happening. Marriage should be about choosing someone because you love them and can't imagine life without them, not because they provide security while you love someone else. Claire learned that lesson, but better before the wedding then after.